The distance between stars. They met on a rooftop, not a fancy one, just the cracked, half-forgotten roof of an old apartment building in Brooklyn, where the tenants left unused chairs and dusty potted plants no one had watered in years. Maya went up there to think, to breathe, to be above everything when the city felt too loud. That night Jonah was already there. He was sitting on the edge, cigarette dangling from his fingers, a sketch pad resting on his knees. He didn't look up when she stepped onto the roof. She paused, unsure whether to turn back, but something in his stillness made her stay. She sat 10 feet away, legs crossed, hoodie pulled tight. For a while they said nothing. Eventually he exhaled smoke into the cold air and said,
"You come up here often?"
Only when I'm trying not to disappear.
Same.
He turned his head, finally meeting her eyes. They never planned their meetings, but they always seemed to show up at the same time. Sometimes it was late at night, sometimes early morning when the sky was bruised purple and the city hadn't woken up yet. They talked about books they half finished, the people they missed, and the versions of themselves they were afraid to become. Remember to like and subscribe for more stories like this. Maya was a barista by day and a poet in secret. Her journals were full of things she'd never said aloud. Jonah was a freelance illustrator who hadn't drawn anything personal in 2 years. They were both hiding from their own silence, filling it with each other's presence. It was slow the way they fell, not dramatic, not cinematic, just two people who started to build a language out of glances and quiet laughter. They brought snacks up to the roof. He started sketching her hands. She left poems taped to his door. He kissed her for the first time in the rain. Neither of them had an umbrella. They were arguing about whether grilled cheese should be dipped in ketchup or not. He looked at her mid-sentence, cupped her face, and kissed her like he'd been holding his breath for months. They didn't say "I love you" for a long time, but Maya slipped it into a poem, and Jonah drew a comic strip of a couple stargazing, the dialogue bubble saying,
"I'd orbit you forever."
Like most stories, it wasn't just joy. There were shadows too. Maya had a tendency to run when things got heavy. Jonah held things in until they cracked. They fought, not about big things, but the small ones that chipped away at trust. The unread text, the missed call, the forgotten promise. Once, she disappeared for 2 days without warning. When she came back, she said,
I just needed to breathe.
Jonah didn't yell, he just nodded, but he stopped drawing for a week. Maya wrote a poem called The Distance Between Stars. She left it on the rooftop for him. The turning point came in winter. Jonah's father had a heart attack. Maya came to the hospital and sat beside him for hours without saying a word. She held his hand while he stared at the monitors, and for the first time he cried in front of her. Not a single tear, full, aching sobs that bent him inward.
I don't know how to need people. Not really.
Maybe we can learn together.
They moved in together the following spring, a new apartment, no rooftop this time, just a small balcony with room for 2 chairs and a potted plant they promised to keep alive. It wasn't perfect. Maya still disappeared sometimes, but not for long. Jonah still shut down, but not forever. They learned how to ask better questions, how to fight without breaking things, how to apologize like they meant it. They made rituals, Sunday pancakes, Thursday sketch nights, voice notes whenever they were apart. They made room for each other's storms. Years passed. They got a dog. Maya published her first poetry collection, dedicated to Jay, who reminds me that love is not lightning but weather. Jonah started an online comic that quietly gained thousands of readers. One arc followed 2 characters who met on a rooftop and learned how to breathe again. On their 7th anniversary, Jonah took Maya back to that same building. The door to the rooftop was locked now. They broke in anyway, laughing like kids. The city stretched out in all directions, and the stars blinked faintly above them. Jonah pulled a small box from his coat pocket.
I don't want to orbit you, I want to be your gravity.
Yes, for every version of us.
They never stopped showing up for each other, even when life got hard, even when time got heavy. Because love, they learned, isn't about always knowing what to say. It's about listening, staying, choosing, even when the sky goes quiet, even when there's distance between stars.